Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about the 5 things that I love about living in Sweden. So let's jump into it. My name is Shalika Maka. For those of you who are new here, I lived in Sri Lanka for most of my life. I was brought up in Sri Lanka. I lived for 10 years in England. And now for the last 15 years or more, I've been living in Sweden. And on this channel, I want to talk to you all about my experiences here. And if you're planning to move, just to make it a little bit easier and give you a friendly face to hang out with and ask questions if you really need any help. So these are my top favorite things or my top best things about living in a country like Sweden. Number one for me, this is not for everyone, has to be the weather. The changes in season are just spectacular. For someone who's been brought up in Sri Lanka and has summer all year round, obviously where you live really enhances your life. And it was a wonderful thing to live in a country where you had summer all year long. But after moving to Sweden, I've really come to appreciate the seasons. Now, it's obviously the grass is greener on the other side. Those of you who've lived all of your life here in Sweden, you think the winters are gloomy, November is really rainy and awful, and I agree with all of that. But for me, as a Sri Lankan who's lived in England as well for 10 years and really not experienced sort of very defined seasons, the weather here in Sweden has to be my number one. If you don't like really cold weather, I wouldn't recommend moving to Sweden. I'm in the summer house in the north this time. We've come here for Easter break. So it is snowing, and I will be adding some footage in here for you to see. It's been snowing since we came on Sunday. It's really beautiful. And when I'm filming, it's the beginning of April. You have a few warm days and you have a few cold days, and it's just always up and down. And that's just what spring is here. But if you don't like that kind of weather, cold and damp weather for most of the year, then I wouldn't recommend moving to Sweden. Number 2 has to be the housing. Now, because the weather is so cold here in Sweden, they are very, very good when building homes and houses, even flats. Now, I lived in England, like I said, for 10 years. And in England, you're always with sweaters and socks and blankets because the houses are so cold and the winters are not nearly as harsh as they are in Sweden. But here in Sweden, the houses are so well insulated. Most of the windows are triple glazed, and it is just amazing the quality and workmanship that goes into keeping your houses heated and warm. Obviously, with heating, there are very specific things that they do here. Heating under all of the windows. You don't have doors going. Very rarely do you get like French doors in a house because that just really gets rid of a lot of cold, warm air. So they really make sure that all the flats and the houses are well insulated. And I really like that because a lot of old people live in these homes. And in England, I know a lot of old people really were very, very cold. But here, I don't think that is a problem. Now, obviously, if you don't have money to pay your heating and all, that's going to make a big difference. But for the most part, most people here in Sweden can live really warm. Once you come into the house or you come in, you're guaranteed warmth in the house. You're not going to walk around thinking, oh, it's cold and I need to wear socks and all of those things. My kids walk around without any clothes, even up here in the north in these older houses. Number 3 has to be something that we call here jantelagen. This is an unwritten social code here in Scandinavian countries. And what really it means is that most people, they don't dress very flashy. Everyone sort of conforms. If you're wealthy, you don't talk about it. You don't talk about all of your achievements. It's not really something that people look upon as a nice thing to do. Other countries also have this. I know Japan has something called, I think when they say a nail that sticks out always gets hammered back in. So you're not allowed to really stick out. And some people find this really difficult. And they think, if I've made my money and I've worked hard, why shouldn't I enjoy everything? And if that's the case, I agree with that as well. But I think for the most part, the social system is built here on equality for everyone, and you don't want to make anybody feel bad. That is a very typical part of the Swedish culture here, and I really appreciate it. It's comes right from the top. You know, the ministers and the king and the queen all are very humble. And this is not to say that they have more money and they eat at very expensive restaurants and all of those things. Yes, and they are very privileged. I agree. But for the most part, in higher positions as well, that everyone tries to keep it that sort of low key here in Sweden, so that everyone feels welcome and everyone feels like they are contributing and that their contribution is also important. Number 4 has to be the convenience in Sweden. It is one of the most convenient countries to live in, I think. Now, growing up in Sri Lanka, I know firsthand what it's like to go through so much red tape to get simple things done, like your passport or an ID card, or just get your tax returns done. It's just so complicated in those countries, and they are getting better. I've been living away from Sri Lanka for over 20 years. So they are definitely catching up. But when I was growing up there, it was so difficult. You had to take all of these papers, and it just really was very complicated. I mean, to get your passport in Sweden, if you have your personal number, it is just so easy. You go to the police station closest to you, you make an appointment, you go there, they take your photograph, they measure your height, they put all of your information in. It takes you all of like 10 minutes there, and then they call you and tell you or send you a message when the passport is ready. Now, in other countries, you have to take your photographs and your documents and all of that to go and get your passport. And this was just so convenient. So all of those things like taxes and everything is online. And I will do a video about the conveniences in Sweden. I think that's an important part of living in Sweden. And if you're moving here, that you would really, really appreciate. So everything is digitalized, all your banking is digitalized. You don't have to visit the tax department. All your taxes go online. Now we've got an app that actually does the taxes for you. So it really is very, very convenient. The transport system is convenient if you don't drive here. All of these things are just so easy to manage and easy to do. It is one of my favorite things about living in Sweden, that they make my life so much easier, especially because I don't like taxes and doing all of these mundane things. I absolutely hate them. But because I have to do them, making them online and doing them so conveniently is just a huge plus. And number 5 is the work-life balance. I don't think you're going to find countries in other parts of the world like Scandinavia when it comes to work-life balance. Even before the pandemic, the Scandinavians were working from home quite a bit. I remember my mom used to come to visit, and she used to ask me sometimes, because she used to stay here for like 3 months, and she would ask me, doesn't anybody go to work? Everybody's at home. And I said, yes, a lot of people are working from home. And then when the pandemic hit, it was just an easy transition for them to work more from home. But I have seen a change in the system. More people are going back to work. So for us, the work-life balance here in Sweden is just amazing. You get 5 weeks paid leave. And after you turn a certain age, like 40, you get 6 weeks paid leave. You can get more if you negotiate it with your employer. So it just is so convenient. You've got so much maternity and paternity leave here, which really adds. You can save it up till your child is 12. So sometimes you could even have 2 months a holiday in the year for your summer vacation if you add that into your holiday as well. And you've got a lot of public holidays here, a lot of things that we call klämdag. So for example, if you have Thursday holiday, you could take Friday and then you'd have a long weekend. So it really is a great work-life balance for everyone here. And I absolutely love that about living in Sweden, because it's just so convenient. I don't want to be working so many hours where I don't get the chance to spend with my kids or have to get nannies to look after them. It's just not worth it for me. So I really, really love that convenience here in Sweden. Those were my 5 top things about living in Sweden, why I love it so much. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're thinking about moving to Sweden and you're watching this, or you're living in Sweden and you're watching, and if you don't like living in Sweden, I hope this maybe gives you a little food for thought. If you're a Swede and you've sort of, been living in Sweden all your life and it's boring and you don't like it and you're just thinking of warmer weather in places like Sri Lanka, I hope these conveniences really encourage you to look at Sweden as a different country. You can't have everything where you live. You got to weigh the pros and cons. And that's what I did. And I really love living in Sweden. And I hope those of you who've moved here really have a great experience. So thank you so much for being here. And I will see you in the next video when I talk about the little things that make life so easy in Sweden. I have another top 5 of those little things that you might really not think about that really make your life convenient in Sweden. So with all that said, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.